Welcome to the first Grateful Leadership webinar in the year 2020. This is very exciting, and I'm thrilled to have each and every one of you here. We know that you are here for a reason, and that reason may be simple, maybe it just resonates with you. It may mean that you want to make a contribution to a very large community of grateful leaders and potentially grateful leaders by our definition. But this is work that needs to reach the world. And we're all very committed to it. Everyone who contributes on a monthly basis is extraordinarily committed. And you'll meet all of those people today, except one couldn't make it, unfortunately, Jim Trella, but we're going to play a segment from his weekly podcast, The Art of Grateful Leadership, anyway. So I am absolutely delighted to introduce you to our guest presenter today, Mario H. Trentim, and he's the CEO of Trentim Business Solutions, and he's got so many certifications and qualifications. He's what you call a left brain and right brain person. And when we think about it, he's going to tell you the story of how we met because it was a wonderful story. And at that point, he was more left brain than right brain. But I think getting excited about the grateful leadership work that we do gave him more access to more neural pathways in his brain. So we're delighted because he has done some amazing things for the Center for Grateful Leadership. And I'll just mention one or two of them. At one point, he reviewed the book, You're Totally Awesome, The Power of Acknowledgement for Kids that I had written back in 2013. And he said, I really would love to translate this book into Portuguese because the Brazilian school system needs it. And I said, well, we really don't have a budget. He said, I'm doing it because I want to do it. That's what he said, and that's what he did. And it's a beautiful version of the book that we have available now that he's used, we've used, and he's now asked if he can translate grateful leadership into Portuguese. So I am just thrilled to introduce Mario Trentim. And Mario, I have to say, the topic that you're speaking about today, I didn't know whether I should admit to this, but you know me, everyone knows me. I'm very open and I'm very honest. I need this topic probably more than any of you. So that's one reason why I'm here today, although many others as well. So, Mario, please take it.
Thank you a lot. So it's really nice to be here with you. And I'm going to talk about it's a little about balancing, having a work-life balance, which I believe it's a struggle for all of us, and how utilizing grateful leadership helped me on that. You can send the questions as we move here. It's about a conversation. And as I was thinking about this presentation, I remember when I first met Judy back in 2010. And that's true. I was much more focused on hard skills as an engineer. I have an engineering background and project manager in engineering. So I always believed that it was more important to have hard skills and define the processes and everything would work well. And then when I saw her presentation about the grateful leadership, I found at first I find it very interesting, not very applicable to me, but very interesting. And then I started studying the concepts about leadership and mainly about the grateful leadership. And that's how it changed a lot. So it changed my professional life, it changed my personal life, my business in general. It's really, really great. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. All right, so moving here. As you already know me, I work as an engineer and project manager in the aerospace, defense industry, a couple of industries, and nowadays I own a consulting company. And I also believe that is I I have some credit to that, to the grateful leadership as well, because back in 2010, when I first met Judy, and I didn't know anything about leadership, I was working in a large organization, and that was what I thought it would be my life until the end of my life. You know, you progress, you are project manager, PMO manager, projects director, and so on. And as I started studying more, then I understood that I could create other things, bigger things, by leading people, by taking care of the people, by really paying attention to their needs, and having this development along the years, it helped me a lot. So let's move to the work-life balance. What is work-life balance anyway? And this is one of the things that I've been thinking a lot in the last maybe 3 years, 2 years. Probably you work a lot. I know you are all big fans of the grateful leadership as I am, but probably you're getting much more out of your professional relationships by applying these concepts. And few of us apply this to our life. So to our relatives, to your maybe your parents, your kids, your husband, your wife. And one of the things is that we are working a lot. So maybe working maybe 60 hours, 80 hours, 24 hours a day. And I was reviewing the book, Grateful Leadership, and I thought about the 5 C's we have, the 5 C's of acknowledgement. And the first one, consciousness, paying attention to the people. So you first have to see something positive so that you can acknowledge that positive. And then I was thinking that most of the time when I am out of the work, I am distracted by the work. So I noticed that I was not being conscious. I didn't have this first step, the consciousness, when I was with my kids or with my wife, my sister, everybody else, because I was paying half of the attention. We are always checking our phones and all this thing. So how can we embrace these 5 C's? The consciousness, you have to really pay attention to the people and pay attention to yourself as well. Leave distractions behind, maybe turn off your devices for some time, unplug from our busy professional lives. And one of the ways that I started doing this is by putting it on my schedule. Because if it's not a process, it's not a habit, then you forget to do that. As Judy was saying in the beginning of this presentation, being grateful, I believe that the grateful leadership, it's more like a lifestyle, a habit that you either do it fully or you're not going to get all the wonderful benefits we have. So I started being more conscious and paying attention to these daily activities. Then you have the choice. It's always a choice if you're going to acknowledge the other person or not. And another step that I find very, very important is having the courage, because sometimes we pay attention, we are appreciative, we are grateful, we believe that the other person already knows that. And we know that is not true. So you have to have the courage to speak, tell the other person how amazing she is, he is, or what achievement they had, the impact they have on you, even for the small things in our daily lives. Then you have the communication, so that you say, and it's not only empty words, that the other person understands that you are appreciative from the heart. And this was also another thing that I had big problems with that, because sometimes we start doing this in a mechanical way. You pay attention to the people. Sometimes you take a sheet of paper and you start writing the names or writing the people you are grateful, the things that they did today, this year, or any other things they had impact in your life. You decide you're going to talk to them, then you have the courage, but then you don't plan that communication in a way that it's natural from the heart, or that it really shows how appreciative you are. We just say thank you, or you send a note, and the other person might receive this and believe those are empty words, or I don't know, it's a very simple note, and you don't take the time to communicate well. So I also turned this into a habit in trying to schedule the way I would think about the communication, and maybe create a draft of that and then commit to do it. So the commitment, commit to do it, and try to do it frequently. So every day in your weekly activities, so that you start really living this grateful leadership, which is not only good for the professional aspects we have in our lives. I see many examples when we read in some places, even the examples we have in the book, that you can change the culture of your organization, you can change the work environment. So why not extend that? And creating this environment is one of the things that I find very important as well. Because if you're doing it alone, and that's is how I started. So I thought that, okay, I'll start applying grateful leadership. So I'm going to be a grateful leader. And this resulted in big benefits. It's good. But then when you try to teach the other people in behaving the same way, you create an environment for grateful leadership. And this is where you get exponential benefits. So you're not the only one grateful in your organization, but the other people start following the example, and you also teach them how to do it. You encourage them on how to do it. Maybe even you could think about coaching people who work with you so that they can embrace grateful leadership. And this is something that I also took to my personal life, because I started getting the benefits when you are more appreciative of your spouse, for example, for your kids and their achievements and so on. But when I was the only one doing that, it worked. Sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes you forget to do it. When everybody is doing that, which is what I call the continuous improvement, so you start investing in the other people. It could be, as I mentioned, you provide coaching to them, or maybe courses, taking the Grateful Leadership course to your organization, to your organizations, maybe even your family. My wife, actually, she read the book with me, and she started applying that. This is where I started really getting the benefits, as I tell you, because I don't know if that happened with you, but every time I studied leadership or any other thing, and with the Grateful Leadership, I started applying. I was very committed to that in the first week, maybe in the first month, and then you stop applying. Then you go back and read the book again when you start having problems in your relationships, in your professional relationships, you start having any issues in your organization, then you believe you have to go back, and then you reread the book, and then you apply again. And this is a cycle that for me it happened many times, maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 times that I have to read the book again. And in the last year, or in the last 2 years, this is why I like it so much. The book, You Are Totally Awesome, The Power of Acknowledgement for Kids. Because when I read this book, I find it not only extremely interesting for the kids, for the parents, for the teachers, for the educational system, as I mentioned to Judy. And this is why I wanted to translate it, and I translated it to Portuguese. But the main thing for me is that it helped me growing as a leader. Because before that, I had many leadership courses, leadership books, and all this stuff, but it's confined to the professional life. So, how to be a good leader, how to set goals, how to talk to your followers, everything that we know in the leadership theories. And then when I read these stories in this book, you are going to find a lot of stories. Some of the stories the kids tell the stories themselves. And I start reading these stories to my kids. I have three kids, and my kids study in a Canadian school here in Brazil, so the classes are in English. They read the book as well, and they even took the book to the school, and the teachers used the book in this Canadian school here we have. And then they started understanding. And as we studied these examples, as I mentioned, these stories, being present, lead by example, they started behaving as grateful leaders, let's say, acknowledging themselves, the three of them, acknowledging their parents, me and my wife, and we acknowledging them. And then we created this that I mentioned as an environment where you get exponential positive benefits because it's a habit that is reinforced by the environment. And then I started doing this again inside my company. I'm the CEO and founder of my company. We have 31 employees. And as I mentioned to you, from times to times, I studied leadership, applied a little. I was grateful. Then after a month, I forgot about it. And then I decided that we wanted to share these stories. They also read this acknowledgement for our kids and the grateful leadership. And then they started understanding better and behaving as grateful leaders, and not because it was in a prescriptive way, but because they saw the benefits. Some of them even in their homes, as I mentioned. So these are the two last slides. I was thinking about my 2020 goals, the goals for this year, and I wanted to be more focused and disciplined at home. We do it very well in our jobs. You schedule all your meetings, you have your to-do lists, you have the meetings, you have the processes, you have the KPIs, everything. So we are very, I don't know about you, but we are very disciplined in our professional lives. But sometimes we are not as disciplined in our personal lives. So you don't have the discipline to have maybe a sport or exercises, your health, your relationships. And then I decided that I will do the same things I do in my professional day, and I will do it in my home. So we have a schedule for the things we are going to do. It's not a fixed schedule, but at least you know that today you're going to play soccer with your son, for example. You're going to do this, this, and that, and I have a to-do list. Even for the things I want to tell to the people in my relationships. So these are some thoughts. I was thinking about how I could improve and take this to a lifestyle, as I mentioned to you. One of the things that I started doing, and I have many positive effects, and it's also because of some of the stories I read in the You Were Totally Awesome, is to study a hobby every day. So it could be gardening, could be, I don't know, anything related to animals, to arts, whatever. But having a hobby, but being serious about that, because sometimes you want to start something. I want to start gardening, for example, but then you do not study, you do not do it properly, and then our plants die. Or you start having the fishes and you don't take care of them, your dogs, whatever. So I choose a hobby, and then I study it and apply and learn it with my kids. So they have a saying on what would be the best thing that we would study, and we started doing that and having more great time being present. The other thing is scheduling family activities on the calendar and really sticking to those activities, blocking time slots for that. And the other thing that I found very helpful, it was to create routines and rituals, even for gratefulness, which is something I do every day before sleep. I have a notepad beside my bed, and every time before I sleep, I take notes related to gratefulness. I do the exercises every day in the beginning of the morning. So everything I created a routine for that so that I stick to those. Asking questions and being genuinely interested in people, because also another obstacle I found when I read other books, maybe how to influence people, this kind of stuff, is that you start asking questions and trying to be more engaged with the people without being genuinely interested in those people. And we believe that they are not going to see that, but they see. So when you ask questions and you don't want to know the answer, the other people knows that. Also being present, avoid the digital distractions mainly, which is a big challenge. I must confess that sometimes I don't do it. And that's why I try to review my activities every day so that I see, oh, this day I failed. I was with my kids or with my wife, with anybody else, and I was checking my phone, thinking about the work, thinking about an email that I have to send. So you have to try to reset every day so that you reset and reconnect to do the things that are really important to you. And another thing that I found very helpful, finally, is connecting with nature, doing outdoors activities when we do outdoor activities as a family. And also in my company, we started doing some outdoor activities with the employees and the leadership team I have here. They started developing much more deep connections and bonds and started helping each other, knowing each other better. So these are some thoughts. Maybe you have other goals or you can change anything here. And that is my last slide. If you have any comments or anything that you would like to ask or suggest, it's really recommend that you read the book again if it's been a long time that you read it, and try to create a grateful leadership environment. Not only applying you by yourself, as I mentioned, but teach people around you and starting having the examples. If you don't have your copy of You Are Totally Awesome, I also recommend it, strongly recommend it. It's a great, great book on how impactful the power of acknowledgement is to the kids and to their development. And I believe that it gives us so nice examples that we can apply to our not only personal lives but to the professional lives. Okay, so that's it from me.
Mario, that was an amazing presentation. And as I hinted at the beginning, I really needed this. And I am a digital distraction sinner here, and I really I took
Yeah.
notes. Pay attention to people, unplug, put it on your schedule, commit to doing it. Those are my reminders to myself from the wonderful thoughts that you shared with us today. And I'm just thrilled that you were here. And I think this really makes a difference to people when they can figure out ways to use this initiative really to help and heal themselves and their families and their teams. So we have time for a few questions. And, in fact, if there aren't any, I just want to show you one of our contributions this month. But I'd love to hear from people. What would you like to ask Mario about uh, his left and right brain expertise? Uh, that's an amazing combination. One of our wonderful members who couldn't be here today, Susan Parente, is another example of that. And she found that the Grateful Leadership Initiative helped develop the right side of her brain. So Harry says he agrees also in the value of the children's book version. Same principles, only simplified for kids and real examples for anyone. As grateful leadership becomes more natural, it will become 24/7 in all that we do. Beautiful. Yes, that's a wonderful observation, Harry. And we know Harry's a practitioner and also a wonderful contributor. Who else? Anybody have a question for Mario? I think we're all like so amazed at what you presented. It really sounds like a lifeline. It can be the way you use all of this. It sounds like a lifeline. And Deborah, and I will introduce Deborah officially in a few minutes. Mario, what have you noticed after starting your daily gratitude practice? What impact has it had? Great question, Deborah. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Well, it helped me in being more consciousness, which I believe is what I really needed. Because you don't take the time to pay attention to the things, and when you take notes and you have that time to do that, in the first day you don't have anything that you take note, then what happens, you have to pay attention in the other day, and then you have more things that you take notes and so on. So it helped me a lot in being more conscious, and also in being more grateful, because then you start growing the list and you see how many good things you have along the day, the good people that surround you, and the things you have, the impact you have, how you help them, how they help you. So the impact was really related to consciousness and then to being more grateful. Sometimes we're very used to complain and we're just paying attention to the negative things. So it also changed my mindset to be more positive and to look for the positive side.
That's absolutely wonderful. And you're a good role model for a lot of us. And actually, there's a tool on the Center for Grateful Leadership website that members can access, and it's the Grateful Leadership Daily Journal. And you might want to take a look at that because it's got a nice way to lay it out. What have you practiced today, and what were the results? It's just all in one place, kind of a tool to use if you're interested. Now, Harry says, I think work pressures sometimes make managers or even us to be less grateful. So grateful leadership theme helps us focus more on the positive side. Absolutely. I mean, we can all be, we can speak without thinking sometimes, in a way that's so negative. And if we're practicing this habit, then it really starts to solidify the positive. In fact, Susan Parente, I referred to her before, launched a 30-day gratitude challenge a couple of months ago, where every day you took on the challenge of acknowledging or showing gratitude towards someone. And I mean, that exercise reached me in such a deep way. And, what I always say is that I can grow and improve like anybody else. And what I ended up doing was actually quite amazing, even to me. A dear, dear friend of mine had a dog that she was absolutely committed to, so fond of. The dog had been a real loyal, trusted friend for so many years. And she got so ill and she was dying. And I said to my friend Chris, I said, I need to talk to Roxy, not you, Roxy, but Chris's dog, Roxy. I said, I need to say goodbye to her and I'm going to get choked up just telling this story, and say how much she's meant to you and therefore to me. And I did that, and I saw Roxy. We did WhatsApp. Can you believe this? I mean, yeah, I thought I had in part lost my sanity, but Roxy had been sleeping when I started talking to her, and she opened first one eye and then the other, and she was totally present with me as I acknowledged her. And that's not something I would normally do. But thanks to the gratitude challenge, I knew I had to do something. So and Don Officer wrote a great article this month about the gratitude habit, which everybody should read. The Atomic Habit, I think it's called. But anybody else have anything they want to say? I think this is such a beautiful, beautiful presentation, Mario. I think many people are going to.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to watch it once a week. It's in archives. I'm going to make myself watch it because it's so easy to forget with all these digital distractions, as you say. And just in line with what you're saying about family, Roxy writes a wonderful column called Grateful Parenting, Raising Grateful Tweens in the Digital Age in our 2020 Grateful Acknowledgement Challenge. That was her piece for this month. And Roxy, you want to say a quick something about, I mean, you're so in line, in sync with what Mario is proposing. Do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, absolutely. So my boys are at the age where they're really becoming not adults, but they're coming into adult ideas. And we've for the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, they read You're Totally Awesome, The Power of Acknowledgement for Kids. We donated, Judy and IIL donated copies to the local schools. So this is something that they have been involved with, since they were very young. But now we're getting to the age where they actually interact with other people. Prior to this time frame in their lives, we haven't really been able to put it in practice, put acknowledgement into practice, because they just simply didn't know very many people. But now they have people in their lives that are not our direct family, and they have the ability to put acknowledgement and gratitude into practice and see how it affects other people. And as a person who's very interested in sociology and how people react and statistics and things like that, I thought it would be a great idea for them to take this new trend, this trend of being viral and being part of the internet like kids are into right now, and use the two together as a learning experience. Because as a lot of people know, we did put our kids into normal school this year, but we also homeschool them in addition to that, because for us, the education they're provided at school is not exactly what we want. So we also homeschool them at the same time. And so I thought this would be a wonderful lesson in social studies, and use the age frame that they're in to have a challenge. And so what we did is we made a list of 20 people that are in our lives that deserve an acknowledgement. And the boys have already started on their first. Each month we're going to do 2 acknowledgement cards that we make at home, and we are going to log the results of the reactions of the people who they are acknowledging, to do a couple of different things and see where the patterns are, if certain types of jobs or certain types of people have similar reactions and things like that. And it's, it's kind of not something that we've organized completely. We're just sort of coming into it. But I'm looking forward to the results, and I'm pretty excited about what it will mean for them in the future in terms of building up their ability to acknowledge others. Because it's one thing to feel gratitude, and it's a quite different thing to express gratitude. And
Amen.
I personally struggle with that. I feel gratitude so deeply and strongly for things, but I cannot express that to other people very well. I'm better at it now, but I've struggled with that my entire life. It's something I have to work on day by day. And kids are typically the same way. They feel the gratitude and you can see it, but they don't know how to express it. And so my hopes for this experiment is that they learn to express gratitude in a way that can stick with them for life.
Beautiful, beautiful, Roxy. And maybe you will want to share with us those results. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Now, Don, no, first of all, Don says, Roxy, my grandson is a tween and lately has expressed concern about having dark thoughts. Have you encountered these feelings in your kids? And if so, how did you handle the situation? I don't know if we have time for a full answer, but maybe you could give a 20-second answer now, and you and Don can continue offline, because I just want to make sure we cover a few other things.
Yes, I agree. Don, I will reach out to you by email. I have definitely experienced that not only with my children, but with myself as a teenager and a young kid. So I will reach out to you about that. This is very common, especially in today's kids. They're over inundated with media, and it's very easy to fall into that habit. But I believe that gratitude and implementing gratitude into your daily life can make a huge impact on this. So I will be glad to reach out to you privately. And if anybody else, feel free to email me, roxy.nevin@iil.com if anyone else is interested in that. But
put that in the chat, Roxy. Just write your email in the chat.
I am happy.
All right, that's wonderful. And one other of our contributions this month ties in so magnificently with Mario's presentation, and it's it's Don Officer's The Grateful Connection article, Ambushed by Gratitude, and he speaks. He always connects a wonderful book to grateful leadership or a new thought initiative, and this is Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results: Atomic Habits by James Clear. And Don, I don't know if you have a microphone, but this will be posted up in Don's page, the member articles page. Don's is a monthly article that appears, and I should say everyone is welcome to read this. I don't know that he's able to speak today. Don, can you say a few words or not?
I'm here. I can talk to that.
Okay.
Okay.
About a minute's worth, okay?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. It's interesting. This is a very interesting book, and it summarizes a lot of other books that have been written about habits, but it adds a lot of other material, basically of two kinds. Recent research, which is pretty cool because that supports a lot of the things that self-help people have been writing for years, and also it deals with things in a very granular, very ground-up fashion. Clear himself was an athlete and took it pretty seriously, and then he built his own company online, and getting up and working every day, even when the material was tough and dull, was his challenge, and he's met it pretty well. He's all over the web, as I say here. This book came out late 2018. It did reach the bestseller for business books list, and I guess it's not perfect, of course, but then it couldn't be. It would be 15 times as long. But the thing is, this is the big astounding thing. Motivation is not something you wait for, like you wait for inspiration and the light bulb comes on over your head, as in the cartoons. No, you get in there and you start working. And it was mentioned earlier that gratitude and leadership are both habits, and they can be built from the atomic level up, as we heard in the previous presentation. And that's really what you need to know. It's not always going to be fun. It's not always going to be automatic. It's not always going to feel authentic. But if you do it, and especially if you do it on a major character trait like grateful leadership, it's going to change your life for sure, and you're going to have a solid base to work from. And that would be it in a nutshell. But he gives a lot of tips on how to make that work.
Yeah. Okay, so that really ties up the contributions that go so well with Mario's presentation. And Mario, again, I want to thank you for being here and doing this. We talked about many other things that you may want to do in the future, including getting a few more letters after your name, like GLCP, Grateful Leadership Certified Professional, levels 1 and or 2, which will enable you to be a trainer in grateful leadership in your own country or anywhere. So that would be really exciting for IIL, and hopefully that's something I know you need more letters. You've had only those letters after your name for this period of time. You need a few new ones. So that's my suggestion. And I'm very delighted. Don Officer he's so well connected with thought and thought leaders, and he's been kind enough to introduce us to Deborah Connors. And Deborah is the author of the book A Better Place to Work, Daily Practices That Transform Culture. And she's going to be our February guest presenter. And it's the day before Valentine's Day, February 13th, so that'll be perfect, because she teaches leaders to radically shift cultures so that people can flourish. And Deborah, are you able to speak for a moment, or I'm not sure if you're hooked up or not?
Hello, can you hear me? No.
Yes.
Oh, you can.
Wonderful.
Hi. I was trying to
Yeah.
mute myself.
Hi.
Yeah, so I'm excited to be involved next month to join you as a speaker. We haven't determined exactly what the title and topic will be, but it will be something towards creating a grateful culture in the workplace and some of the practices
Wonderful.
that we can put in place to make that happen.
Love
Yeah.
it. Perfect. All right. Well, we look forward to having you, and it will be really wonderful to translate Don's great work. He wrote an article about your book, and now we have the real author, and that's very exciting. So Don, that's your job from now on. Whoever you write about eventually becomes a presenter, but you're blazing the new path for us, Deborah. So thank you. We're very grateful.
Great. Look forward to it.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if you
Thank
noticed,
you.
Judy, but Mario already sent an email asking about the certification, so he seems to be excited.
Yeah, it's something that I should share with everyone.
That'd be great. All right, we will talk. We'll definitely follow up offline. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I want to show you wonderful Harry's Get the Right Attitude Through Gratitude monthly acrostic. And I love the title of this one, Climb Aboard the CGL Express. And you can see his wonderful, it's a combination of poetry and deep thought about gratitude and appreciation and acknowledgement. Just and it's always new. The way he puts it together are always new, but they're always so relevant. So, Harry, this is amazing. We're very grateful for that contribution, and also for his thoughtfulness in helping us create a calendar. Climb aboard the CGL Express. All the dates are there. We're going to make it a little more designed, but this is the general gist of it. It's got all the themes, all the dates, and everybody will get this in the recap email that comes out in a day or two following the webinar. And then we also have the podcast from Jim Trella, which I am having a little trouble finding. Where is the podcast? Roxy, if you can. Oh, here it is. I see it. What I want to do is play an excerpt from it. And just as a reminder to everybody, Jim does one of these every single Monday. He started doing this, I think it was 2.5 years ago. He is up to podcast number 138. It's just, he's unstoppable. Okay. So let's let her roll. couple of minutes worth, and this is
For
really
leadership
worth
habit.
listening to.
The point that the why is more important than the how. And the why is the part that fuels the desire to acknowledge someone. Have you ever met someone that has the fire of desire within them? The one that gets them to do whatever it takes to complete a task or make something happen? Well, I know someone that has that same type of desire when it comes to the power of acknowledgement and grateful leadership. It's none other than Judy Umlas. When I met her, I told her the story of a boss from early in my career, and how his laying me off from the company was something good for me. As he was walking me out the door, he said that I would thank him one day. Well, I did, close to 30 years later. This was part of the Grateful Leadership On-Demand course's Knock Your Socks Off exercise. Unfortunately, I never received a response from that former manager. I can't imagine why he wouldn't contact me. I've tried several times without success. Do you know what Judy did when I told her? She said, "Give me the information and let me see what I can do." That is her commitment to the power of acknowledgement and grateful leadership. Judy and I have revisited this topic regularly since I brought it to her attention almost 4 years ago. We have come up with several ways to try and contact my former manager, but to no avail. Recently, I decided to try again. I called the company that I know he used to work at, and they said that nobody by that name worked there. So I summoned up my unstoppable courage and tried another approach: LinkedIn. Searching, I found a person by the same name, but he didn't have a title that I expected. So I decided to reach out and contact him to see if he was my long-lost manager. After a day or so, I received a response. It was him. So I forwarded my contact information along with an email trying to reconnect. At this point, I haven't received any further communication from him, but I look forward to it, and will keep you posted. The other day, Judy told me the story of someone with the same desire to help that made her unstoppable. When Judy was leading a session at a large manufacturing company, one of the participants told of how she wanted to acknowledge her elementary school teacher that had been such a positive influence while she was going through some tumultuous family times. This was a grown professional woman at the company who greatly wanted to tell the teacher about her gratitude. As the woman told about the desire, another person in the class asked if she would meet with them during a break. The two met during the break, and, before the end of the day, not only had the teacher been found, but the woman had actually spoken to her. Talk about desire moving mountains. And desire can work the same way for you. Now, you just have to let it happen. That's the unstoppable desire to acknowledge someone. Is this going over the edge? I mean, I've been working at this for almost 4 years. Some people may think so, but I look at it this way. If there's a way to let someone know that they've had a profound impact on someone's life, I think we should do whatever it takes to let them know. I just think of how I would feel if someone did the same thing for me. It would pump me up and leave me feeling great. And that's how I want to leave people, feeling great. I would compare this to owning a diamond.
Jim just says everything so eloquently, and we are all so grateful to him. One of our members, Tom Kiley, says he starts every Monday morning with a podcast and a cup of coffee. And the podcast, I think, is more important than that cup of coffee. So that's a great habit to get into. We can all do that. So let's see. We have covered everything, but oh yes, we have a little poll for you. And we're inviting everybody who's not yet a member of the Center for Grateful Leadership to join, and you'll get monthly announcements and notifications of podcasts and certifications. And we won't bombard you, but you will stay informed. And we'd just like you to take a quick poll. Have you joined the CGL? In other words, are you a member or not yet, but I will now, or no? We don't have a choice, not yet, but I'm not going to. That's not an option.
Yeah, that didn't seem like an acceptable answer to me, so I left it out.
No, good. I'm glad you did. So we've got, have you joined the CGL? We've got, no, not yet, but I will. That's great. And
just as a FYI, you can click on the image above the poll and be taken directly to the sign up page if you're not already a member, and you can sign up for that, and that will give you access to all of the articles that you saw today, plus the past ones, as well as put you on the list to receive the email invites to the future webinars and information on special events and things like that.
That's great. And we certainly hope everybody who gets a taste of this will want to do great things with it. Thank you so much, Harry. That's the site you can also join at by going to directly. So any thoughts from anyone now? Have we covered everything, Roxy? I believe we have.
I think we have.
I'm missing.
This was
okay.
One of the first times we weren't going over by quite a few minutes.
Well, we had to make up for starting later, so
yeah.
Any thoughts, ideas? We, as we have entered 2020, we really want to take Grateful Leadership to the next level. And Roxy's doing many, many things through social media. And, any ideas that any of you have for exposing this initiative to the world? That's really the intention, because it's kind of, we can keep it small, and those who practice it and use it and model it, that's wonderful. But if we want to take it to the next level, I mean, I just finished recording my presentation for the Leadership and Innovation online conference of IILs that's launching on March 5th. And I scared myself to death with a promise that I made. So maybe you can all help me, because some people have said we really want to get this into our companies in a large way. We want top leadership to buy into it. But we can't prove that Grateful Leadership makes the difference that we know it does. We know it by using it on our teams. What do we do? So I had just read most of a book called We Economy, and it's got a great couple of words after it. Yeah, it's We Economy. You can find meaning, make a living, and change the world. And it's by Holly Branson, the daughter of Richard Branson, plus Craig and Mark Kielberger, who at the age of 12 decided to stop child labor in Asia and actually went there. I mean, it's unbelievable what they did. So they strongly emphasize that social causes, positive social causes, have measurable impact. So I have made a promise to all my likely to be thousands of viewers for that video during the conference, that I am going to research and figure out a way to measure the impact of Grateful Leadership. So you can take that to your leaders and say, here's the proof. And, there's just so much to the measurability, and it's profits are tied to, can be tied to great causes as well. And there's a wonderful expression that they use in the book. Profits and purpose are totally aligned. So if any of you have suggestions, I've got a few thoughts on how to measure it. And one of our employees is on sabbatical, may be taking this on while I'm sabbatical, even though you're probably not supposed to work yourself too hard when you're doing it. He may be helping to design a measurability process. But any ideas that any of you have, I'd be very grateful for. Okay, so I think we're ending on a great note today. Mario, a million thanks again for being who you are, so open and available and moving this forward all the time. I'm so proud of you and pleased to have you on this team. I mean, yes, and stay with us. You should now come back every month, okay? When you can, because we have great speakers. And by the way, Harry acknowledged you for the great, excellent presentation of the 5 C's. And this is something, you know, many of us are familiar with, but you did present it in a very powerful and identifiable way. So thank you for putting the Mario spin on that. All right, so I think we can say goodbye for this month. Roxy and I will be here if anybody wants to hang out, but officially we're going to end the presentation now. See you in February.